Have you been to this coffee shop before? This is Keeper Coffee.
I don't drink coffee, so I'm drinking
tea.
Earl Grey.
Your Earl Grey tea.
Yeah.
Here at Keeper Coffee on Holgate, Southeast Holgate. It's good. I like this place.
I've never been here, so I'm glad to have tested out different spot.
Right. And the cookie is good.
Cookies. I don't know about yours. Mine is really good.
It was fantastic. A good latte.
Makes me want to have some more. I mean, there's no end to.
But okay. Speaking of your artwork, you called yourself a two-dimensional artist. While you were the artist in residence for Hearts, you put together a body of work, right? And you have a show coming up in January, and that's at the Northview Gallery at the Sylvania campus. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Right, the Hearts residency gave me an opportunity to create body of work. Not necessarily like the amount added so much more. It compensated for crisis I was experiencing, loss of class, and it still gave me room to be able to create body of work and gave me a chance to exhibit. I now have a decent body of work that I would like to exhibit. So I already did one run with it in Korea, South Korea. I took them to summer to Gwangju in this old museum. I had a show there in August, right on.
Wow, fantastic! With the work you're going to show at the Northview.
And then,
how did that go?
It went well. I was a very unique artist because I was educated here, and I tend to have a lot of a Western flair because my education is based on painting traditions in Western Europe. Yeah, and the content of the work is yet another element to this residency where it afforded me to look at me as an artist, where my voices are, and it kind of concur with my aging process too, where one becomes more humble, or like what remains at the bottom of who you are is at the end of the day what you need to speak about.
What remains of you after the world is sort of...
Right, regurgitating all the toxics out. Then what do you want to say? And I had known, but I wasn't as concrete about it. So residency afforded me that kind of focus, time, and maybe because it's a now project and I want to be decent about it, and the proposal was about language. And I began looking at representation of minority cultures, and it was all commerce. Taqueria, porta, market or mercados. It is not. If it's not commerce, where do you see your culture represented? So
interesting.
And then so these signages became very important. So
signs of commerce. Wow. Right.
So I have this clashing of forces where people are people, they're warm-blooded people, organic, and experiences are all diverse. Yet you see them within these signages. That is just so prominent, prevalent, and dominant. So it's a struggle. So it's almost like a graphic language battle of a text with the human forms embedded in it. So with the human forms, they're organic and they're out of ink, and I go to extreme where ink and rice paper blend each other and bleed, and then coming in are these harsh texts, and the texts tend to be vertical, almost like a system. And then my brush strokes are the opposite, diagonal and curvature, expressive, energetic, opposite. So the confrontation on a picture plane seems to be very agreeable to me. And I identify with the human struggles and the harsh system we are in. It's so inhumane.
Right.
Yeah, and
do you mean capitalism?
Yeah, us.
Yeah, society.
And then spend that kind of money on weapons.
Right.
And then you dump it on one country. And then they are doing the murdering and bullying of little people who do not have access to water. I mean, that's just like a norm,
right.
And you target because you look like somebody. How unaware people are, not knowing the history of, they slam. Then people say, it's always been like this, but not at this rate of blunt fascism or blunt racism,
right.
And if you think you're making a little progress, what they're doing to LGBTQIA, and it just goes on and on and on. And I cannot be blinded to that. Who is gonna be blinded to this? So, before it gets better, it's gonna be way worse. We're gonna have to fight for waters. Maybe United States will not go as far as what they're doing elsewhere,
But water is going to be a diminishing resource soon.
Yeah, that much is not anything. Well, I'm affected by that, and so the artworks that I've created does show in between places I am so confused and trying to figure it out, and while I'm enjoying the comforts of this domestic bliss,
right?
They're having not water in Gaza, so.
So the artwork is in part about that cognitive dissonance of recognizing what's going on, but still trying to live your blissful life.
Yeah, and I see these intersectionalities where these minority groupings are trying to make sense out of it. And I live close to Southeast Campus. You see immigrants walking down the street. They're so visible to me,
right.
And invisibility of them people, or how much they're dissed because they're transports and they're perpetually foreigners. I'm a perpetual foreigner. Actually, it doesn't even matter if I speak English with accent. It doesn't matter if I was born here or not. I'm just a foreigner. I've been treated like that ever since. And I don't expect to change.
Just because of you look like you are from another country.
Yeah. Then I'm just a foreigner. I might as well have it tattooed here.
How does that affect you as an artist?
Secretly enjoy it. It makes me carve my knife some more. No, at the beginning, it showed up really cruel way. Like the teacher you trust. No, not that I trusted him. I just thought you trust teachers. And he was like so racist. Even as a young kid, you realize, oh my God, you're racist.
When you were in grad school?
High school.
Oh, wow. High school. Wow.
High school. And the sexual harassment, it doesn't matter what country you're in. It began in 7th grade, PE teacher. And it goes all the way to graduate school, to parliamentary.
And you're saying it's perpetual.
Yeah. You just like, wow. And then it's just, you will never be equal.
Right.
You're just, the objectivity is real.
Right.
And you just now talk about it, but then there was no forum to talk about it.
Right.
I think I just took that stuff and bottled it in.
So you use your artwork as a way of, of course, talking to it or responding in a way that you don't have just in your daily public life.
I use art to go to visit in between places. Nothing ever is clear, and people are not black and white. They're not simple, but I am aware how largely unaware they are, or prejudiced they are, and they come from certain bubbles where they really believe in these things, and I'm trying to keep my head above and keep straight on. And largely, people are very ignorant and unaware and really
of prejudice, of systems of oppression is, I think,
all
what you're
of
saying.
that, and they're really pissed. Americans are so pissed. It shows up in ways we suffer tragedies of that, and results are killing and being killed and continuously, and still believe in false ideology.
Right.
Yeah, feed off of that. It's scary to me.
So tell me the name of your show. What's your show called?
I do not know.
Oh, you're waiting for
I'll share my images. You can help me.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you told me already it has to do with commercial signage. And
Yeah.
it has to do with kind of your counter response to it.
Yeah, and it's been always sort of in between places because I'm not Korean anymore, and I've never been American. You know, that no man's space.
Right.
Then the bicultural. It's a huge gap.
Right.
You know, the intersectionality. Thank God for the term. Didn't
Right.
have a name for this, right? And then like I have a kid who's a lesbian, so that in between places again, you know, and this is for convenience of who are we categorizing so conveniently?
Right.
No, thank you. And so I seem to be, and I like that confrontation. It gives me so much pleasure to put black next to white and vertical versus horizontal. And if it's a feminine, then masculine, if you will, aggressive then passive, quiet and not, you know. And I like that confrontation or that friction within the picture plane. That's where I like to live, and I don't really want to simplify shit, you know. And there's a danger to that too. The complexity is never condoned or allowed or never see light of day. It's so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah. So your artwork is a place where complexities can thrive for you?
Yeah, and I go right there with the audience. So some are almost like mythical animals because they're head of a person with the wings of a body. You know, bird-like, and head stacked up, and you know, and I am very forceful in my composition. It's almost like that's one formula you can figure out in art by looking at many art and being tested out, you know, and then you test it out. This century was all about God and his mommy, and they use this formula. This century they start opening about sex and hanky-panky going on the obvious way, floating about, oh, love you, and then there's a torture scenes going on, you know. You see that, and it's the same formula depending on the century, even the country. That's one formula you can figure out, which I teach. I make my students promise: composition, focal point, and make your composition fly. Do not let it go, in spite what you do, and that works. You know what I mean?